Have you ever stared at your phone, waiting for a reply, wondering if she's losing interest or if you're reading everything wrong? That moment of silence feels heavy, it triggers doubt, it pulls at your confidence. And if you're honest, it makes you question your value. But what if that pause you're afraid of isn't rejection at all? What if it's something far more meaningful? Most men are conditioned to believe attraction is loud, fast replies, constant attention, clear signals. Anything less feels like disinterest. So when her energy slows, when she doesn't lean in as quickly as you expect, your mind fills the gap with fear. You assume she's playing games. You assume she's unsure. You assume you're losing ground. But this assumption is where confusion begins. Here's the truth few people tell you. When a woman is not invested, she doesn't hesitate. She doesn't slow down. She doesn't overthink. She fades easily because nothing emotional is at stake. Indifference is effortless. Silence without return is simple. There is no tension there, no weight, no internal conflict. But when she is invested, everything changes. Her emotions become alert. Her mind becomes cautious. Her behavior becomes intentional. She starts to care about outcomes, about pacing, about how vulnerable she allows herself to be. And that care creates friction, not distance, friction. Psychology explains this clearly. The brain slows down when something matters. It evaluates risks. It looks for patterns. It seeks safety. Emotional investment activates protection, not pursuit. So instead of rushing forward, she may pull back slightly, not to escape you, but to understand you, not to test your patience, but to observe your stability. This is where most men sabotage themselves. They react instead of respond. They chase clarity instead of embodying confidence. They overtext, over-explain, overprove. And in doing so, they unknowingly answer the silent question she's asking in the worst possible way. That question is never, does he like me? It is he emotionally solid when I don't give him certainty? Attraction is not built in moments of reassurance. It is built in moments of uncertainty, when things are unclear, when energy shifts, when silence appears. These moments reveal who you really are, your self-control, your self-respect, your inner calm. Women do not test what they do not value. They do not protect what they do not care about. When emotions deepen, behavior becomes careful, and careful behavior is often misread as disinterest by those who don't understand emotional dynamics. If you can grasp this, truly grasp it, something powerful happens. You stop chasing signs. You stop fearing pauses. You stop shrinking when things slow down. Instead, you become grounded, present, unmoved, and that grounded energy is rare. Stay with this message because by the end you'll see the signs clearly. You'll understand when hesitation is actually investment. You'll know how to respond without anxiety, without pressure, without losing yourself. And most importantly, you'll learn how to become the calm presence that others naturally move toward, instead of someone who is constantly seeking validation. And once you understand that hesitation can come from care, you begin to see emotional resistance in a completely different way. You stop labeling it as rejection and start recognizing it as protection. Because when emotions grow, fear grows with them. Not fear of you, but fear of losing control, fear of falling too fast, fear of repeating old pain. This fear is not weakness, it is human wiring. The mind does not guard what it does not value. It does not slow down for what feels meaningless. Emotional investment activates the brain's defense system. Desire pulls forward, but caution pulls back. When both exist at the same time, behavior becomes measured, controlled, intentional. That internal push and pull is what you're witnessing when she seems interested yet reserved, connected yet careful. This is where so many men get trapped in the wrong interpretation. They believe confidence means pushing harder. They believe clarity must be forced. They believe attraction grows through pressure. But pressure does not create safety, and without safety, emotional investment cannot survive. When she feels something real forming, she becomes aware of the stakes. She begins to wonder if you are emotionally consistent or emotionally reactive, if your calm is real or just a mask, if your confidence exists only when everything goes your way. These questions are not spoken. They are answered by your behavior in moments of uncertainty. Resistance is not a wall, it is a signal that something matters enough to be handled carefully. Indifference is smooth and effortless. Investment is cautious and deliberate. The deeper the feeling, the more intentional the pace becomes. Psychology shows that the nervous system constantly scans for stability. When someone slows down emotionally, they are regulating themselves. They are trying to stay grounded. They are trying not to lose themselves in the connection. This is especially true for emotionally aware women. They don't rush because they know the cost of emotional collapse. They have felt it before, and they refuse to repeat it blindly. So when she pulls back just enough to create space, she is not asking you to fill it with words. She is asking you to fill it with presence, with composure, with emotional maturity. She is observing whether you become anxious or remain steady, whether you panic or stay centered, whether you need reassurance or trust yourself without it. This is where attraction either strengthens or dissolves. The man who reacts emotionally confirms her fear. The man who stays calm dissolves it, not through silence meant to punish, but through silence rooted in self-respect, not through distance meant to manipulate, but through grounded patience. You must understand this deeply. Emotional resistance appears only when something valuable is on the line. No one protects what they do not care about. No one slows down for something meaningless. The pause you feel is not emptiness, it is weight. And when you can hold that weight without collapsing under it, something shifts inside her. Her nervous system relaxes. Her guard lowers. Her trust begins to grow. Not because you chased her certainty, but because you embodied it. This is the moment where attraction stops being fragile, where it stops depending on constant validation, where it starts to root itself in something stronger. Stability, presence, emotional leadership. And that leadership does not speak loudly. It does not demand. It does not chase. It simply stands firm when things are unclear. That is the kind of energy that turns resistance into deeper investment. And when that stability begins to register, her behavior starts sending signals that only appear when real emotion is involved. They are not dramatic. They are not obvious. They are quiet, intentional shifts that most people overlook because they are searching for loud proof instead of subtle truth. Emotional investment rarely announces itself. It reveals itself in patterns. She may not respond instantly, but she always returns. She may slow the rhythm, but she never breaks connection. She may hold back words, but her attention sharpens. She notices how you speak, how you react, how consistent you are when nothing is being promised. This heightened awareness is not accidental. It is the mind protecting something it values. When feelings are shallow, effort disappears. When feelings are deep, behavior becomes precise. She starts paying attention to emotional details because now they matter. Your tone, your patience, your ability to remain grounded when the pace changes. These details become information, and she is quietly collecting it. This is why emotional investment often looks like distance to the untrained eye, because instead of chasing feeling, she is measuring safety. Instead of rushing desire, she is watching your emotional center. She is asking herself whether you are stable enough to trust with her vulnerability, whether your confidence is internal or dependent on her attention. Psychology confirms this pattern. When uncertainty is met with calm confidence, attraction intensifies, not because of mystery alone, but because the nervous system relaxes in the presence of emotional strength. Calm signals security. Security allows attachment to grow. You will notice that when she is invested, she tests less with words and more with space. She gives you room and watches how you stand in it. Do you fill it with anxiety, or do you remain steady? Do you assume loss, or do you trust the connection without clinging to it? If she did not care, she would not observe. She would not reflect. She would not adjust her behavior. She would move freely without concern. Investment creates caution, and caution creates subtle signals. She remembers things you didn't think mattered. She circles back to conversations. She reacts emotionally to small shifts in energy. These responses come from emotional presence, not emotional distance. Her mind is engaged. Her emotions are involved. And that involvement changes how she moves. Most men misinterpret this moment. They try to force clarity. They try to accelerate comfort. They try to remove uncertainty. But uncertainty is not the enemy here. It is the environment where attraction is either strengthened or destroyed. When you understand this, you stop needing constant reassurance. You stop monitoring every reply. You stop attaching your worth to her speed, and in doing so, you become the one thing her nervous system is looking for: stability. The paradox is simple. The less you chase emotional proof, the more it reveals itself. The less you react to distance, the safer she feels closing it. The more you trust your own value, the easier it becomes for her to invest in it. This is not about tactics, it is about internal posture, about who you are when things are unclear, because clarity comes naturally to the man who does not demand it. Emotional investment deepens around the man who does not panic when it is tested. And when you hold that presence consistently, her subtle signals begin to align. Her pace softens, her resistance relaxes, her energy shifts from guarded to open. Not because you pushed your way in, but because you proved without words that you are steady enough to stay grounded when it matters most. And this is exactly where most men unknowingly destroy what could have grown into something powerful. Not because they lack intention, but because they misunderstand what strength looks like in moments of uncertainty. When emotional investment is forming, urgency feels tempting. The need to define, to secure, to lock things in starts to rise, but urgency is not confidence. Urgency is fear wearing the mask of desire. The moment you rush clarity, you communicate instability, not through words but through energy. The nervous system reads it instantly. When you push for reassurance, when you demand consistency, when you try to control the pace, you shift from grounded presence into emotional pressure. And pressure collapses attraction. Psychology is clear on this. Emotional safety is built through predictability under stress. Not through constant communication, but through consistent behavior. When things slow down and you remain calm, you signal strength. When uncertainty appears and you stay centered, you signal reliability. These signals matter more than any compliment or promise. She is not measuring how much you like her. She is measuring how you handle emotional discomfort. Whether you become reactive or remain regulated. Whether your confidence depends on her validation or comes from within you. This distinction changes everything. The man who panics teaches her that emotional stability will always be her responsibility. The man who stays grounded teaches her that she can relax, that she does not need to manage your emotions, that she can feel without fear of chaos following. This is why over-explaining kills attraction. It tries to remove tension instead of holding it. And tension, when handled with maturity, is not dangerous. It is connective. It creates polarity. It gives emotions space to breathe. You don't need to withdraw to prove strength. You don't need to become cold to regain control. You simply need to stay present without chasing outcomes. Presence without attachment is powerful. It says, I am here and I am whole, regardless of what happens next. Most people seek reassurance because they do not trust themselves. But the man who trusts himself does not require constant confirmation. He understands that emotional connection deepens naturally when it is not forced. When she senses this self-trust, her resistance softens, not immediately, not dramatically, but subtly. Her nervous system stops bracing, her guard loosens, her curiosity grows, because emotional maturity is rare, and rarity creates value. This is not about ignoring her. It is about not abandoning yourself. It is about responding with intention instead of reacting with fear. When you do this, you stop sending mixed signals. You stop oscillating between intensity and insecurity. You become consistent. Consistency is calming. Calm is attractive. The mistake is thinking attraction must be actively maintained at all times. In truth, attraction grows strongest when it is allowed to unfold without interference. When you remove emotional pressure, you allow genuine desire to surface. This is where the dynamic shifts, from you trying to be chosen, to you being experienced, from seeking approval to embodying value, from uncertainty feeling threatening to uncertainty becoming neutral. And when uncertainty no longer shakes you, it stops threatening her as well. Because she feels, perhaps for the first time, that she is dealing with someone emotionally grounded, someone who does not need to control the connection to feel secure within himself. That realization is powerful. It changes how she shows up. It deepens her investment. And it all begins with one internal decision: to remain steady when the outcome is not yet clear. And when you choose that steadiness, something subtle but profound begins to happen inside you first. You stop scanning for signals. You stop measuring your worth through her responses. You stop giving your power to outcomes you cannot control. In that space, confidence stops being an act and starts becoming a state. True confidence is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It is felt. It is the quiet certainty that you will be okay regardless of how things unfold. That certainty changes how you speak, how you listen, how you move through emotional space. And people feel it long before they understand it. When you stop needing reassurance, you become reassuring. When you stop chasing clarity, clarity begins to move toward you. This is not coincidence. It is emotional gravity. The nervous system is drawn to what feels grounded and complete. It relaxes in the presence of someone who is not trying to take, fix, or secure something from it. She senses this shift immediately. Not because you said something different, but because you feel different. Your energy is no longer tight. Your presence is no longer performative. You are not trying to impress or convince. You are simply showing up as yourself, without needing anything in return. That is emotional leadership. Leadership does not mean control. It means stability. It means being the calm reference point when emotions fluctuate. When she feels that calm, she no longer needs to protect herself as intensely. Her resistance eases because the environment feels safe. And safety is where real attraction grows roots. This is where the dynamic transforms. She begins to lean in emotionally without realizing it. Her communication becomes warmer. Her curiosity deepens. Her investment becomes less guarded, not because you pushed past her defenses, but because you never threatened them in the first place. Psychology supports this completely. Secure attachment forms around consistency, not intensity, around emotional regulation, not emotional spikes. When you embody that regulation, you offer something rare. You offer an experience of connection that does not cost peace. And that experience stays with her, long after conversations end, long after moments pass, because it feels different from what she is used to. There is no rush, no pressure, no anxiety underneath the attraction, just presence. You begin to notice something else as well. You start attracting differently. Not just her, but people in general respond to you with more openness, more respect, more trust. Because when you are not seeking validation, you stop leaking insecurity. When you are not chasing approval, you stand taller in your own identity. This is not about becoming distant. It is about becoming whole. It is about no longer needing someone else's behavior to regulate your emotions. That independence is magnetic because it signals abundance. It says, I choose connection. I do not need it to survive. When she feels that, she feels free. And freedom is essential for desire. Desire cannot grow where it feels trapped. It cannot breathe where it feels managed. But it expands where it feels chosen. Your calm gives her that freedom. Your consistency gives her that safety. Your self-trust gives her permission to trust you. And the most powerful part is this. Once you embody this way of being, you never go back. You stop playing emotional games because you no longer need to win them. You stop fearing loss because you are no longer losing yourself. This is where attraction stops being something you chase. It becomes something that naturally responds to who you are, and from that place, everything changes. And then comes the final shift, the one that changes how everything lands. The moment you stop needing certainty, certainty starts revealing itself. Not because you demanded answers, but because you created the conditions where truth feels safe to appear. This is the paradox most people never understand. The less you chase emotional confirmation, the more genuine connection you experience. When you are no longer attached to outcomes, you stop sending invisible signals of pressure. Your energy softens, your presence steadies. You are no longer trying to extract meaning from every interaction. You are simply allowing the connection to exist as it is. That allowance is powerful. It communicates trust in yourself and trust in the process. She feels this immediately. Her body feels it before her mind does. The nervous system recognizes safety faster than logic ever could. When she senses that you are not trying to control the connection, her defenses relax. When she feels that you are emotionally complete without needing her validation, her investment deepens. This is where her behavior changes without effort. She becomes more open, more consistent, more expressive. Not because you pushed her to be, but because she finally feels free to choose. Choice is essential. Desire grows where choice exists. Obligation kills it. Pressure suffocates it. You see, emotional investment is not built through persuasion. It is built through presence, through calm, through the quiet confidence that does not need to announce itself. When you embody that confidence, you become an emotional anchor. And anchors are rare. They are not exciting in a chaotic way. They are powerful in a stabilizing way. Most people are emotionally reactive. They swing between intensity and withdrawal, between hope and fear. When you stand still in the middle of that storm, you become different, memorable, trustworthy. Your steadiness becomes the thing she didn't know she was searching for. This is why the woman who once seemed distant now begins to lean in. Why the pauses become shorter. Why her communication feels warmer. Why her interest becomes clearer. Not because you changed her, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. And here is the truth that matters most. Even if things do not unfold exactly as you hope, you still win. Because you did not sacrifice your self-respect. You did not collapse under uncertainty. You did not chase validation at the cost of your peace. You remained whole. That wholeness is the real reward. Because it changes how you show up everywhere, in relationships, in conversations, in life. You stop negating your value. You stop trying to prove yourself. You simply are. From that place, attraction becomes effortless, not guaranteed but natural. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You are allowing yourself to be experienced, and that difference is everything. When she is deeply invested, you will feel it without needing to question it. There will be alignment, ease, mutual movement forward, no confusion, no guessing games, because investment does not hide forever. It reveals itself when the environment feels safe enough to hold it, and you become that environment by staying grounded when things are unclear, by trusting yourself when outcomes are uncertain, by choosing inner stability over emotional urgency. This is not about her anymore. It is about you becoming the kind of man whose presence invites honesty, depth, and real connection. When you embody that, you no longer fear distance. You understand it. You no longer chase signs. You recognize them. And from that understanding, you move differently, calmly, confidently, intentionally. Knowing that real investment does not need to be forced, it naturally moves towards strength that is quiet, steady, and unshaken. And when you carry this understanding forward, something irreversible happens within you. You stop trying to decode every signal. You stop interpreting silence as danger. You stop giving your emotional authority away to someone else's timing. In its place, a deeper awareness forms. You realize that your power has never been in controlling outcomes. It has always been in controlling your internal state. This is the level where confusion dissolves, not because everything becomes predictable, but because unpredictability no longer threatens your sense of self. You understand that attraction, real attraction, does not require constant monitoring. It requires alignment. And alignment happens when two people feel emotionally safe enough to move toward each other freely. When you stop reacting to distance, distance loses its grip on you. When you stop fearing pauses, pauses stop carrying meaning, they simply become space. And space when you are grounded is not empty. It is neutral. It gives clarity room to emerge on its own terms. She feels that neutrality. She feels that you are no longer scanning her behavior for validation. And that absence of pressure becomes inviting. It allows her to step forward without resistance. It allows her interest to surface without fear of being rushed or managed. This is where emotional investment becomes visible without effort. Her communication becomes more intentional. Her energy becomes more consistent. Her presence becomes more available. Not because she was convinced, but because she was allowed. And you remain the same, calm, steady, self-contained. You do not change your posture when attention increases. You do not overreach when warmth appears. You receive without clinging. You appreciate without attaching. That balance is rare. Psychologically, this balance signals high self-worth, not arrogance, not detachment, but an internal sense of enough confidence to let things unfold, enough security to not demand outcomes, enough respect for yourself to not abandon your center. From this place, your actions become clean. You communicate clearly without emotional weight. You show interest without urgency. You set boundaries without fear of loss. Every move comes from choice, not need. And this is the most important transformation of all. You stop entering connections, hoping they will complete you. You enter them complete. That wholeness changes the entire dynamic. Because people are drawn to what feels solid, to what feels stable, to what does not require fixing. If she invests deeply, it becomes a choice, not a reaction to pressure. If she does not, you do not collapse. You do not chase. You do not question your worth. You remain intact. And that integrity stays with you far beyond this one connection. This is how you reclaim emotional authority. By realizing that attraction responds to who you are being, not what you are doing. By understanding that the strongest signal you can send is emotional self-trust. Once you internalize this, you move through relationships differently forever. You stop trying to be impressive. You stop trying to be chosen. You simply show up as a grounded presence. And that presence speaks louder than words ever could. When someone is deeply invested, you no longer have to guess. The connection will feel mutual, balanced, alive. And if it does not, you will have the clarity and strength to walk away without resentment or regret. That is the real win. Not securing attention, but securing yourself. Not chasing connection, but becoming the kind of person connection naturally grows around. From that place, everything else becomes simple.